Good morning. Do you notice I get a little flash of me in between some of those introductory pieces, and I have no idea why. I think actually it's the boss checking up to make sure that I'm here. He can do things remotely from home, and he just wants to make sure that somebody is sitting in this chair ready to go and do a bit of work. So there you are. I'm Keith Hayes, and this is Mirador Television coming out of Lewes in the United Kingdom, and with the friendliest of intentions towards Lewes in Delaware, because we brought the two mayors together. And once this dreadful COVID thing is over, then we shall bring them back again. So this is who we are, and this is who we are. The big news probably is that the weather continues to deteriorate. In Lewes, it is somewhere between -3 and 1. We can expect a low of -3, and we can expect a high of 1. My guess is that probably it's about -1 right now. I don't have access to a thermometer, believe it or not. Anyway, it wouldn't tell me the truth because the heating's on. Beginning of another week, the week of the 8th of February, and perhaps a fatal week fatal is the wrong word. Fatalistic is probably the right word for a whole host of things. Where we're going with COVID, where Mirador is going, because we're having as bad a time as anybody. Oh dear. I do get the hiccups once in a while, and they always strike seemingly just when I go on the air. Perhaps it's when I start to talk. It's a way of nature trying to shut me up. But we've had it, we've had it tough. Let's put it that way. But hopefully we can manage to get back on track this week and bring you the quality programs that you've been used to. But hopefully there are some memories that we can show you. And also, in a little while, in a few minutes, we've got our Maggie, who is a new entrant into the scheme of things. And believe me, she bustles and hustles and knocks me around the corners. So one or two things for you that's half decent, I think. First of all, let's just take a look at the news headlines. And when it comes to the COVID, there are several. So let's just remind ourselves about what's going on with COVID, shall we? Well, those are the people, those are the heroes that have been fighting for almost a year now to keep us safe from COVID. And I have to say that they seem to be doing a pretty good job because not only millions and millions being vaccinated, but also yesterday was the lowest number of deaths in the UK since we got started with realizing that COVID was there knocking at the doors almost a year ago. So those are the heroes, and they've started to bring it down with finding vaccines and making sure that they warn most of us how to behave, how to keep a mask on, how to keep a distance, how, despite the difficulty, is not to visit friends and family. And it's been tough, but they've kept us at it. They kept our nose to the grindstone, and it's beginning to pay off. And there was some suggestion, only a suggestion, over the weekend that we may well be able to get back to at least having shops and things open a bit earlier than we thought. In fact, next month. Don't hold your breath because everything changes, and it's not the fault of the government in this particular case. Everything changes, and we can't guarantee that. But it does look as if we can get back to some sort of normal life. The trouble is, what is going to be normal? Because now a panel of experts, and we're always having panels of experts, but nonetheless, one has to take into consideration what they have to say, whether you agree with it or not. But they say that large sporting events and crowds and big mass concerts and so on and so forth will not see huge numbers of people returning. And now, if you actually start to think about that, what are the ramifications? If crowds aren't going to return to the stadia, is television going to continue to cover it to the stage that it is? And if, in fact, and it's only a scenario, if it's not, then that means that there'll be less money for the clubs themselves to pay the huge salaries that they have been to sporting stars. Now, unless that's replicated on the continent, of course, it'll mean that there will be an outflow of young talents here in most sports to go and work where the money is. So that's something to keep an eye on. No crowds aren't going to return, according to a panel of experts. Now, the Oxford vaccine, which has been given a great trumpeting, but experts do warn, the medical fraternity do warn that although it is pretty damn good in fighting the present strain, it is not so good against the mutant strains. And this bug is very clever. It starts to recognize when it's being attacked, and it changes. And now I think it's called the South African strain, and we really have to worry about it. And the Oxford vaccination may not be as effective against the mutant strains. Against the regular strains, yes, but against the mutant strains. And they've Oxford and AstraZeneca have. No, I take it back. There was a story earlier that we were going to actually try combinations, almost like a cocktail. So the AstraZeneca vaccine, along with the Pfizer vaccine, along with the Oxford vaccine, and that's not the story. The story there is that the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine is less effective against the South African variant, which is what I was just telling you. Oh no, the storm, the storm, the storm. In Lewis this morning there was snow overnight. There's a smattering on the ground. We're lucky because the rest of the country has had heavy snows and could get up to another 6 inches. I think yeah, 6 inches today. Oh, 12 inches. It could be up to 12 inches in some parts of the country, not all parts, but wherever you are, be very careful because particularly because of COVID, you haven't been able to drive as frequently and as far as you have been, is you get out and practice a little bit in hazardous conditions. and our conditions are hazardous. So do be careful when you go out, when you drive today. There's ice all over the place. Stephen Catlin texted me last night and said the gritters will be out late last night and early this morning to try and make the roads more drivable. But that doesn't mean to say that you can go tearing around at 50 or 60 miles an hour, which some people are. So beware. The storm is still there, and it's having a very bad effect, and particularly in the north.
What they're doing? He's been stuck or what?
Well, there you are. That's what they got in the north, and that's how they're having to handle it. We are lucky down here, but it is something that we must be very aware about. And finally, just a little wrap up of the news. Uh, there has been a lot of suggestion in various media that the government and the ruling bodies have been deliberately trying to sideline or limit the effectiveness of the media, which of course needs an open playing field if it's going to be effective. And because we were feeling a little sore, I suppose, at Mirador, in as much as we've fallen through every crack whatsoever, uh, that we should ask our local MP what she thought. So we submitted 5 or 6 written questions, and God bless her, she's come back and she's been very direct. And she says there is no question that she supports local media and has got a track record of doing so and will continue to do so. That she is not anti-media, she recognises the value, and that she and the government, or at least the part of the government that she's able to wield power in, will be supportive. So there you are, is a straight denial, and that's fair dues. And now, because it's public, she has to live to that. And indeed, I suppose if she's been that straightforward and made that statement, she will. So there we are, right reply. And we get to the heart of things. Now, I think that it's time for us to introduce a new lady because our Maggie will be appearing weekly. Well, she'll appear more than that, but nonetheless, we've got um, something that we think is a nice lady who dusts me around the corners. And here she is explaining a little bit about who she is, why she is, and what she is. There we go.
I mean, Lewis is amazing now, isn't it? It's got its own television company, and it's got its own
Our
currency.
Maggie.
It's got its railway station, so you can get anywhere you want in the country, you know. And the other amazing thing is, right in the centre of town, there's a brewery. It's a shame it's locked down now, because I'd like to go in there and do a bit of beer tasting. When it's finished, you know, this lockdown, I think I'm going to go in there for a little tour, see what they've got. Anyway, I brought the crew here some Yorkshire tea, because I don't suppose people in Lewis drink Yorkshire tea, do they? I bet they like, you know, English breakfast, or Clipper, organic, or vegan tea. But I'm sure they'll make use of it, you know, when we finish the programme. Anyway, how have you been with New Year and everything? And Christmas? Did it turn out how you expected? I mean, mine didn't. When that chitty made that big announcement saying, you know, if you've packed your case, then unpack it. I was one of those people. I was heading to Abergavenny, you know, to see my family. And I had the case all on the bed with her, and I just putting in the presents and everything. And I had my elf dress packed, so I thought I'd wear that for Christmas Day. I got these little jangly socks with little bells on. I thought I'd make my family smile. Anyway, so Chitty said, unpack your bag, because Wales are in lockdown. And now we're in tier 4, so I couldn't go. Anyway, what you do is, it's not fair, is it, when you live on your own? I mean, you've got to try and just get through it. It was all a bit miserable. And then it was New Year's Eve. What did you do? I mean, it was the same problem. It was so boring. Normally, we'd be out and about in town and out for a meal with friends and things. There was nothing to do. We couldn't even have the fireworks in London. I mean, it's all a bit miserable. Anyway, what are you doing to keep fit? I mean, I like to watch Joe Swash myself on television, see what he's up to. I mean, I quite like having a cup of tea and sitting on the sofa. And even he was a bit fed up the other day, wasn't he? He was just struggling with being locked in all the time. I think the government should change it now. Don't stop calling it lockdown. Just let us know when you're going to let us out. I mean, my door's been locked for weeks. We've had three lots of this lock-in. But you've just got to toe the line. I mean, I had a bit of an issue the other day on this train. This boy came on with his skateboard. He had no mask on, and I thought, I don't know. And he was looking at me. It was a bit like a spaghetti western standoff. I was standing, and I thought, there's only the two of us in the garage. Do I say something? And then he's got all edgy. He's going, oh, you're looking at me. What's your problem? Why don't you say something? I'm like, oh, I had my mask on. I mean, I couldn't say anything to him. He's going, I'm exempt. And I said, well, I didn't say whether you were or not. I said, well, shouldn't you be wearing a lanyard? He said, oh, I can't wear my lanyard because it gets stuck in my zip and my anorak. And I'm like, oh. I said, oh, well, things I've just got to go into hospital. So I said, I'm a bit stressed because I've been tested negative for COVID. And I don't want to go into hospital now and, get COVID. I won't be able to go in. It'll be a disaster. Anyway, I don't know what to do with all the Christmas presents. I think I'm just going to have to post them now in dribs and drabs. I mean, otherwise they're going to be getting them in May. I've got boxes and boxes of presents for my family. Well, I hope you're keeping safe. Are you finding things to do? I mean, normally there'd be loads to do in Lewis, wouldn't there? I mean, but at least they've got Mirador television. You can watch telly now. Keep you entertained. And I hope they stay safe. We've just got to grin and bear it, haven't we? Just keep going, as they say, and we've got to come out the other side so that we can go back to Benidorm for holiday. Anyway, I hope you stay safe. Get a little fitness regime, even if it's only turning on the kettle and having a cup of tea. Make sure you've got some regime for fitness. And stay safe and keep wearing those masks. Otherwise, we're going to be in next January, or locked in, or locked out, or I don't know. Anyway, it's been great chatting to you, and hopefully we can do it another time. Okay, have a good day. See you again. Ta-ta.
Well, that's our Maggie, who hails from Hastings. She's part of the Mirador team, and she's going to bring a weekly viewpoint, our Maggie, with that Northern England humour and straight look at things and straight talking. So I'm delighted to have Maggie with us, and we'll hear what she has to say. She has other guys as well, and we'll try and show you that in a little while. First of all, it is now, to all intents and purposes, 10 minutes to 8 o'clock. We'll see what we have to tell you. We've given you the news headlines. It's one of those things that is essential that we to keep us going and keep some money in the coffers, that we do some advertising on behalf of people. But they're nice people, and they're people that kept going, and there are people that are waiting for you to when lockdown ends in March or April. What the Chancellor has said is that he hopes that lockdown will be over, well, eased a little bit, much earlier than he thought. And then the Department of Business and Commerce have said, hey, watch out because there is going to be a buying frenzy. It's almost like the summer sales or the New Year's Day sales is just suddenly let out of Perda, and away you go, and you go like hell buying stuff. So when you actually do go like hell to buy stuff in Lewes, remember these people because they stood by us through thick and thin.
My name's Yad and welcome to my shop, Bell & Co. We specialise in mid-century furniture, 50s, 60s and 70s mainly. One of our main ethoses here is very much encouraging people to look at older pieces of furniture rather than buying new or buying flat pack. We're very much environmentally based in trying to encourage people to reuse and reimagine objects, and so we spend a lot of time restoring pieces, reupholstering pieces and bring them back to life generally. They're just fantastic to look at and they're just beautiful items at really, really affordable prices.
Hi, I'm Elisa from Catching Tales and we've been open here for about 2.5 years. We specialise in focaccia genovese, which is this focaccia, like that. And my mum and I went to Italy, to Genova, to learn to make focaccia, which is an ancient art. Then we do little salad pots, sauces, fresh pasta, stuff to take home and cook. We try to get locally to support other local businesses. We have a few cocktails in bottles, which is why we're called Catch and Tales. We're open 6 days a week, Monday to Saturday, to come by and see us anytime.
Roundabout has been going for 35 years. We're a dress agency, so what we do is we sell on behalf of people. The customer gets 50% of the price and we take 50%. The online shop is roundaboutlewis.com. I try and update it daily when things come in. We're open Tuesday to Saturday, 9:30 till 4:30. So if you're looking for gifts or a dress for yourself, why not visit?
Bringing Lewes to life. Well, yes, we try very hard. It is not easy because resources are very slim during the lockdown period. But what we've done is we've kept going and we're building our catalogue of programs ready to spring them on you once lockdown is over and you can start to shop again and get involved again. And we hope that by that time you'll be involved with us, because anytime you want to come on and spout, as long as you actually don't threaten anybody or libel anybody, you can say whatever you like. We're totally non-political. But there are times when we really do have to worry about how COVID is beginning to affect our society. and I'm looking at well, there are two groups. I spend a lot of time in Northern Ireland, so I've got family there and I've got friends, and they're now being fined for crossing the border. That border issue was hammered out for Brexit. It took hours and hours and hours of people's time making decisions and so on, and that's all been thrown into chaos because of the pandemic. Nobody could have guaranteed that the status quo was going to stay, and it didn't. And now, if the residents cross the border, they could be in for a fine. And that's all because of a combination of governments trying to protect their own backyard from COVID, from interpretation of the new Brexit rules. And incidentally, if you are trading, make sure that you do get some advice. Don't get stuck and suddenly find that you're in for a lot of money and which you can't recoup or whatever. But the other thing that is really very sad is the pandemic is fueling a rise in online sex crimes against children. And if that's the sort of thing that's coming out of, perhaps it is a cleansing of our society, as we begin to realize that when we are fat and sassy, when there are no threats to family or to bank accounts, is that what we discover is that we've been sitting on all sorts of iniquities in our society. And what happens is we turn a blind eye. And now, because many of us are in the same situation, finding it tough, are we going to realize that some of these things are circulating? There are nasty people in next door, or next door but one, or next door but two or three, and that these sort of abuses are taking place. So, whatever it takes, let's make sure as a society that when we come out of COVID, that we don't go back and become fat and sassy. Nothing wrong with being fat and sassy, as long as you actually don't let it cloud your judgment and forget that we all live in a community and a society where we should all try hard to make some sort of contribution, depending upon what our skills and our tastes are, what our abilities are, what indeed our thoughts are. But there are some naughty things going on, and those are the things that shouldn't return. And Storm Darcy is going to bring more heavy snow across the country. I'm afraid that we're going to get a packet. It snowed in Lewis overnight. It's some of it is stuck around because it's so cold. It's about -1 degree at the moment, and it's not going to go up to much more than +1. And the low could be as low as -3. Now, at the moment, the winds are relatively mild. But if the winds get up, of course, there are things called the chill factor. So it may only register -3, but with a really strong wind, it can make it sometimes down to -10, and that is cold. So wrap up. Watch for icy roads and icy pavements. Watch for all sorts of obstacles. I don't think that we have to watch for snow today because the humidity is quite low, even though the temperature is also low. So it doesn't look as if we're going to get snow. But that doesn't mean to say that things can't change within a twinkle of an eye when it comes to weather. So do be careful when we're looking out for ourselves and our families and our community. And one other thing is that yesterday there was a mountain rescuer who was seriously hurt. They fell 150 meters down a hillside, trying, yes, you guess it, to save or help a COVID rule breaker. I hope that COVID rule breaker feels thoroughly ashamed of himself or herself. All right, let's take another thing. It's 7:59. It's chilly morning. It's a chilly morning. We're just looking back a little bit on things that we've done in the summer and so on, and the imminent return of Alex, Hoare, and Joey is to be welcomed because Alex and Joey take us through quite clearly how to look after our garden. And here is one of their past programs to remind you who they are, what they are, and the sort of thing they bring to us. He said, there we go.
Good morning, peeps. We're back in Hailsham after 3 weeks. I've had a few issues going on with health and various other stuff, but back to full strength again now. Gardens are looking good. As you can see, the rain is here to help things grow. So our little perennial garden in Hailsham that we've been working on for the last few months is now really coming together. We've got enormous hollyhocks growing. The alliums are all out, cicerantiums. It's an absolute blast of life now, and we're still not in the main growing season. So another few weeks, it'll really come to life. I walk down through the garden, and you'll see there's a naughty dog hiding in the foliage as usual. But we'll have a stroll in here, and we'll have a look at the vegetables. So as you can remember, we planted courgettes and peas and sugar snaps in the outside bed. And as you can see, these have come on an absolute treat. So the courgettes are now flowering, and the sugar snaps and the peas are doing remarkably well. I'm very pleased. In fact, they're flowering as well. I'm just going to spin around at this low level and show you how the garden is looking. Look at that. That is a proper perennial garden. And as you can see, the theme of purple, white and green has been completely maintained. And actually, I'm really pleased with it. It's looking nice. Obviously, the second year, next year, it will look better. Gardens always come into their own once they've been in and they've established. But Bruce, who lives here, is doing a marvellous job. Excuse me, marvellous job of watering everything. I've just done some light weeding, and the ground is really soft. So he really has been watering, especially during that really hot spell we had. I'll just show you the greenhouse, because the greenhouse is also doing remarkably well. We've got a couple of cucumbers, which are also just flowering. Then we've got some chilies, some peppers, and then an array of tomatoes. Unfortunately, we did have a little bit of a disaster, and as you can see, my greenhouse here has no door. So I'm not actually able to keep it really warm, but it's not the end of the world, because during the really warm days, you are meant to open the greenhouse, otherwise it can all start to, you can get too much moisture in there and things can rot. Joey, stop that. Things can rot and you can have problems. So it's not the end of the world, but it does mean that on obviously cooler days and days like this when it's raining, that you don't get the heat going in there. So our crops will be possibly later than some people. The reason why we have no door is because the storms that came earlier in the year basically blew the door off. It flew across the garden and shattered. So that was the end of the door, really. But yes, it's really coming together. I'm just going to show you this enormous hollyhock, which in a couple of weeks' time should have a prong of about 2 or 3 feet on top of beautiful. I think these are pinky purple, because I bought those to go with the white foxgloves, which you can see in the middle there. There is a white foxglove just coming up. The other foxgloves haven't actually flowered yet. Anyhow, just a short one today, because I'm just getting myself back into the swings of things. It's been a really busy few weeks. The gardening world is going crazy. It always does in May, June. Well, April, May and June are always the busiest times of the year. But we'll be back here next week, and hopefully by then we might even have some sugar snap peas and monge too that maybe could be picked and eaten. So that'll be where we are. Anyway, from Joey and I, have a good day. See you soon. Bye.
Oh, there he is. That's Joey, the boss. He's making sure that Alex is working hard. Now, let's just remind ourselves that it is not a nice day out there. And if we're looking at the world, the Myanmar, that is the old Burma, the situation is getting a bit out of control. There have been lots of protests. There was a coup last week, just to bring you up to date on your memory. There was a coup last week in which the military took over from the civil government. And it has not proved at all popular. And the military are trying every which way to keep influence from outside from coming in. They've banned Facebook. But the monks have now joined in, and young people are really very upset that democracy is being taken away from them after having had it for not very long. So the whole thing is in shambles down there. And we really must keep an eye on those sort of things that are happening in the rest of the world, because we never know how they're going to impact upon us in Lewis. And the funny thing is that sometimes it's immediate and sometimes it takes time. But things that happen in other parts of the world bring us to a screeching halt in Lewis and the Sussex and around and about. Because of the impact that they have, whether it's in trade, whether it's in mores, whether it's in immigration or whatever. It all brings lots of problems. So really now it's 6 minutes past 8 o'clock, as usual. This seat affects my bum. I don't know, perhaps I should get a cushion, but I'm not sure that would help. Perhaps I've just got a bony ass. The expression was used in the I think it was in the movie Working Girl. She's got a bony ass. Dear. No, I don't think it's sexist. It's got. I'm sure that. Well, perhaps I've got a bony ass. Who knows? There we are. That balances it out. Right. Let's just take a look now at who we are. We're Mirador Television, and we building slowly but surely. Okay, we've been hit. We've been hit by the lockdown. There's no question. We were going along nicely, but these were our figures, and I hope that we can restore those very quickly the moment that we get some sort of parity. So there we are. It is small but growing, and it is a nice upward trend. And the upward trend continues. It's just that with the beginning of last month, when none of us were expecting lockdown to be as severe as it was, obviously we were knocked back like everybody else. We've got that potential there, and we can expect to reach those figures and improve them within the next couple of weeks. So if you happen to be an advertiser, we're very happy to have you on board. You'll never get a better deal because we've got a marketplace offer of 10 for a tenner, which is 10 seconds for £10. And that 10 seconds isn't just 10 seconds. In fact, it goes out 5 or 6 times during a day. And you can buy as many days as you want, depending on your budget. But if you've only got a 10 quid budget, be our guest and let people know that you're going to be there when the so-called shopping frenzy starts, which the experts are quite sure it will. Now, We have our correspondent, Stephen Catlin. We get along very well with the mayor's Lewis Town Council. John Lamb is often joins us. We put him together with the mayor of Lewis, Delaware. We had a great chat, and indeed those sort of things will happen again. But the mayor changes in May, I think it is, and we understand that the mayor-elect will be Stephen Catlin, and Stephen is our political commentator, as it were. He pokes his nose into all sorts of things and comes up with all sorts of information that other people don't get. Now, he's not exclusive to us. He works with Mixed Times and others to make sure that the information is widespread. But he has another side to him, and he tends out all the flowers, the flower beds in the town. It turns out with 3 or 4 people that he's got on side into a little working team, and they look after the flower beds and the secret garden and so on and so forth. Last summer, Stephen went down to Landport, and he went in. As he says, most people seem to think that Landport is another country, and not just an area of Lewis. And he said what a wonderful time he had when he was down there. So this was his report at that particular time. Oh, that's chewing. Well, let's see whether we can actually get the right one. Sometimes it's not the easiest thing in the world to get things going the way that they should. Let's give it a try now. Here we go. No, you don't want to go. Oh dear. It says add to stream. Oh, there we go. There.
Wednesday was a great afternoon and early evening. I was invited down to the Landport Community Barbecue, which was held at Eridge Green. Now, if you talk to some people in Lewis, they tell you not to go into Landport unless you've got a visa. I've never heard such rubbish. Why do some people malign that part of Lewis? There is a vibrant community spirit, as was shown by people of all ages and all spectra of society meeting for a community barbecue. The Dance Academy was giving a demonstration. There was some Morris dancers. Everything was going very well. And the chair of the district council came down as well and expressed surprise. He wasn't sure what to expect, but he said it's just like a village fete. Indeed, one could say this of Landport. It is a vibrant village-type community. It exists, it does very well, and the community pulls together. There's a community Friday restaurant where you pay what you can afford if you're a bit impoverished. There is the food bank, and there is the Landport Residents Association. It absolutely works complete and within itself, and I'm very pleased to acknowledge the community spirit is alive and well on Landport. Please don't denigrate it.
So, apart from being a political, I was going to say animal, but apart from being in politics, former district councillors and a town councillor, and now just town councillor, but looks as if mayor-elect from May on, is Stephen. Also is our investigative reporter for local councils, if you like. But he's a bit poorly for the next few days, and it was his birthday towards the end of last week, and he popped into town to see a couple of friends, and then had to go home back to bed. So we wish him very well and a speedy recovery. And it certainly hasn't affected his mind, because he was on with me a couple of times over the weekend, God bless him. He's very fertile and does a very good job for us, and a very good job for the community. And that was one of the things that he did this time last year. Not this time last year, it was a little later. It was perhaps when we eased off from the first lockdown, and things could happen. And he certainly enjoyed going down to Landport. And God bless the people down at Landport for having good community spirit. Okie dokie. It is, wow, it's 8:16. It's 16 minutes past 8. In Lewis, there are other parts of the world where it is also 16 minutes past 8. And there are other parts of the world where it will be different because of the time zones. And if you live in one of those, every time that we say something about what's happening here, remember just a little bit of time difference. That's all. About 1 degree, now -1 degree, and it's going to climb up to perhaps 1 degree. That's the most we can expect. -3 tonight, and in the coldest part of the day. It did snow overnight, nowhere near as bad as it has in the rest of the country, but it did snow. And that's quite rare for Lewis. So it just shows how cold and how mean and miserable this winter is, on top of absolutely everything else. I suppose probably I can not remember, doesn't mean to say there hasn't been, but I can't remember a worse 12 months that started just about this time last year and has carried through. None of us expected it to be anywhere near as long as this. Anywhere near, but it's gone from bad to worse, and now Mother Nature is getting into the act. Today, the winds are relatively mild. Where's my? I use a tree over there as a weather vane. Yes, it's not rocking at all in the wind. So the chill factor doesn't really apply. When it's -1, it'll feel like -1. When it's +1, it'll feel like +1. There is no chill factor. Now, we're experimenting a bit, and hopefully, just to get us through this very bad period, we hope that you'll join us, even if you only join us for a minute or two. Let us know what it is that you would like to do, what you would like from us. You can post comments if you want. Actually, nobody has. Don't blame them at this hour of the morning. But if you wish, you can. And we're only too happy to try and respond to as many comments and emails and so on as we can. And you're very welcome to tap in and make those comments. So we just heard from Maggie. Now, Maggie is has another guise. Let's just have a look at Maggie 2, as it were.
Hi, I'm Jane at Mirador Television, and I love to recycle, upcycle, renovate, decorate, paint, and if I can find any old junk, I'm happy to turn it into something else. So in the next few months, I'm going to give you some ideas and show you what I'm up to at home, from turning tins into bins, making garden cushions, and my recent find was a Lloyd Loom ottoman, which has a wonky leg, but I'm going to try and renovate the leg and find some lovely fabrics. So lots going on. This week I'm just going to show you a couple of old cop bumpers that I found hanging around the house from some time ago, and I thought, well, I don't want to waste the foam. I'll turn them into some seat cushions for the garden bench.
Right, let's go back to the bad side.
What they're doing? The tree's been stuck or what? So, don't really know what we're going to come across up here.
Well, that's what it's like in the north. It's not that bad down here, but that's because we're in Lewis, and you've not got to go very far from Lewis before you start to get into pretty healthy snowdrifts and a fair amount of snow that came down, not the drifting sort that we got yesterday. What also is happening, of course, and it always happens when we get this sort of thing, is just checking up there. Is a lot of disruption into train and bus and so on travel. So be prepared, whichever way you're going to travel today, for it taking some time. There's a lot of disruption on the rail. And if you work in London and you have to go there on a daily basis, I think it was the Central line is in trouble, the Jubilee line is in trouble. So there are long, long waits. If you know your way around, the network in underground network in London, you're able, of course, to use different alternatives to get around. But even there, that adds journey time, and others will have to wait in the cold for undergrounds and trains and so on. So that's a byproduct. Don't travel if you don't have to today. Don't travel on the roads. They're treacherous. It's easy to look at them and say, oh, they're being gritted and so on. But, roads can be very, very treacherous. And even though in Lewis itself, right here, there isn't much that we've got to worry about. The snow is still lying on the rooftops a little bit. But generally speaking, is be very, very, very careful. There are more ways to get yourself topped at the moment. Coronavirus, if you actually misbehave and may go and hug a friend who happens to not knowingly have the virus and pass it on to you, you can get killed on the roads because the strange thing is that we're becoming not as au fait with a road procedure, whether we're drivers or whether we're pedestrians. And people are seeing empty roads and putting their foot down. And that's not good. Obey the laws of the highway code. Obey the highway code. But don't get yourself into trouble. Don't get yourself topped, as they say. Don't end your life needlessly. There's plenty more coming after lockdown, after COVID has been defeated. And hopefully we're on the way to doing that, bit at a time. But some of the experiments in South Africa have shown that some vaccines aren't as effective as they might be. So I think what we need to do is to take the jab, and it tickles. If it does that, I didn't even know I had mine. I was busy talking to one of the very pretty nurses, and I said, "All done, all done." She said, "Just off you go." I didn't even feel it. And I know there are people that have been working their way up to getting this thing, and there's nothing to it at all. Nothing to it. And there have been some reports, particularly on local social media, of people getting a headache the next day and really losing energy. And I think I probably did too. The only thing is, I had mine on a Saturday morning. Come Sunday, it didn't matter as much as that I lost energy. I could just drape around and watch the telly or whatever. A good evenings, a good afternoons, a good weekend sport. Yesterday, I don't have all the football figures, so you can get those elsewhere. But three very interesting games in the Six Nations rugby. England took an unexpected defeat from Scotland at Twickenham. Eddie Jones has got a real job to do there, I think. And a very exciting match between Ireland and Wales yesterday. And Ireland had about three-quarters of the game to play with only 14 men, and they damn near won it at the end. It was very exciting indeed. Well done, Wales. And when it comes to France and Italy, I'm afraid it was a romp for France, who are looking particularly good. And Italy put up a good show for a good half to three-quarters of the game. But then they started, as they got tired, they started to make silly mistakes. And the French, who are well-established pros, took advantage of it, and they romped home. So there you are. That's I watched it, and I know a lot of other people who enjoy rugby watched it as well. Yes, it's 26 minutes past 8. I don't know what the hell the time goes to, I'm sure. So let us just remind ourselves of those really good people who are so helpful to us.
Roundabout has been going for 35 years. We're a dress agency, so what we do is we sell on behalf of people. The customer gets 50% of the price and we take 50%. The online shop is roundaboutlewis.com. I try and update it, daily when things come in. We're open Tuesday to Saturday, 9:30 till 4:30. So if you're looking for gifts or a dress for yourself, why not visit?
From Catching Tales, and we've been open here for about 2.5 years. We specialise in focaccia genovese, which is this focaccia, like that. And my mum and I went to Italy, to Genova, to learn to make focaccia, which is an ancient art. Then we do little salad pots, sauces, fresh pasta, stuff to take home and cook. We try to get locally to support other local businesses. We have a few cocktails in bottles, which is why we're called Catcher and Tails. We're open 6 days a week, Monday to Saturday, to come by and see us anytime.
My name's Yad and welcome to my shop, Bell & Co. We specialise in mid-century furniture, 50s, 60s and 70s mainly. One of our main ethoses here is very much encouraging people to look at older pieces of furniture rather than buying new or buying flat pack. We're very much environmentally based in trying to encourage people to reuse and reimagine objects, and so we spend a lot of time restoring pieces, reupholstering pieces and bring them back to life generally. They're just fantastic to look at and they're just beautiful items at really affordable prices.
$8.29, time to say goodbye, more or less. So just a quick look at the headlines. And the Oxford COVID vaccine it may only be partly effective against the South African strain. Seems it's okay against the other, but this I keep want to call it a bug, but this virus has ways of getting around things, and it keeps mutating. And it's going to take us a lot of effort to stay caught up. But by the same token, our efforts have been good enough that at least some cabinet ministers are saying we may be able to ease lockdown earlier than we thought. Storm, well, it hit yesterday, and we had a bit of snow, rather drifting, nice snow in Lewis, but with the wind and the temperature, it ain't comfortable out there. So do be careful when you go out. It's likely to dump 12 inches of snow yet to come in other parts of the country. And let's hope we don't get part of that. But although some people would say, we love snow. And we've gone over by 1 minute. Forgive us. Experts also say that after lockdown ends, that big crowds will not flock to sporting events and to big occasions the way they have done in the past. They say that there is now a change of view, a change of heart about how we lived pre-COVID. We were always warned that things were going to change. That's one of the changes. And finally, Maria Caulfield, a local MP, has confirmed her support for local media and the work that it does. So that's it for today. We will pop back as throughout the day if something important happens. And we are planning to have another program around about 11 o'clock once we actually get our act together. And we've been able to react to what's happening with the COVID and the fallout from it, particularly financial. Okay, that's it. I think what we'll do is we will say, if I can find the appropriate thing, is we'll say goodbye until either later today or until tomorrow. Keith Hayes, Mirador Television out of Lewis in the United Kingdom.